Fellow Belizeans, and in particular education stakeholders, I address you today as we've reached the day that when I last spoke to you, we had said that school would reopen. Today would have been back to school after the Easter holiday. As all know now, this is not possible since our nation has been put under a state of emergency until the end of this month of April. I will therefore now outline the next steps forward where possible, keeping in mind that some next steps cannot be clearly defined now as much as is still to be determined by where the national COVID-19 decisions take us. Probably the most burning question is, when will schools reopen? And on this issue, I advise that guidance for the reopening of schools will come from the National Oversight Committee based on the advice of health authorities. Under the circumstances, let me point out that the reopening of schools before the end of the current school year is not guaranteed. Therefore, distance and home-based learning are expected to continue to varying degrees at different levels of education. The Ministry of Education plans to support such distance and home-based learning by working closely and with key education stakeholders, especially our school leaders, our teachers, the media, and with our international partners such as UNICEF, so that we develop distance and home-based learning strategies for each level of education. These strategies include both academic and psychosocial support. At the early childhood and primary education levels, the ministry will continue to upload online resources and activities on the ministry's website. And for those who need that address, it's www.moe.gov.bz. The ministry will continue to develop and broadcast daily audio lessons on local FM radio stations. And more information of that will come in this week. And we will also provide a printed publication containing learning activities for students at the early childhood and primary levels who may otherwise not have access to the other resources being provided. Let me pause here just to explain this a little bit. As I've said, this is for pre and primary schools, in other words, preschools and primary schools. And the objective here is that we will put out programming via radio stations and possibly TV stations. This is being worked on as we speak, and we hope that this can be ready by next Monday, April 27th. Is it, Dr. Bob? I'm
Yes.
all days with these days now. So during the course of this week of April 20th, people can look forward to learning more about how they can where they can access the TV and radio broadcasts, audio lessons, and visual lessons. Primary levels. This is going to be in the form of a news print, and it is our aim to make thousands of copies of this available at the pre-primary and primary level, and we will aim to have it available via banks and grocery shops, even in the villages across the country, so that people can access it. We're hoping that such a publication will cover at least 2 weeks worth of work, and we're hoping that all school children will have access to this information either by that newsprint, by the television and radio newscast or broadcast, sorry, and also, of course, all of this information will be made available by the ministry's website at www.moe.gov.bz. At the secondary and TVET levels, the ministry will assist each high school and IT vet in developing a learning continuity plan that accommodates all students, especially those who may already be marginalized or become so due to the current socio-economic situation. The ministry will also assist in providing printed materials for students who have no access or limited access to the technology. This will be done in the very similar way that we're doing for pre-primary and primary by a newspaper print that will be circulated widely. The ministry will also monitor and support the implementation of school plans to ensure quality, equity, and compliance with established guidelines. At the tertiary level, the ministry will review and advise institutions on plans for program completion to ensure that adequate provisions are being made for the closure of the school year. The role of the teacher in all of this is very key. And I want to say that we appreciate very much our teachers and we value their contributions in this very difficult time. To fully do their part, we are requiring that teachers do the following. For the preschool and primary school teachers, we expect that teachers inform and encourage parents to use the resources made available through the Ministry of Education or from other professional or pedagogical sources. We expect that teachers will periodically check on students' progress, and we expect that teachers will engage in relevant online professional development courses offered by the Ministry of Education or other approved providers. At the high school level, we expect that high school teachers and IT vet instructors, set instructors, will develop or identify learning resources. We expect that they will engage students in online and other forms of distance education. We expect that they will provide students with varied and multiple opportunities to learn content and develop skills. And we expect that the teachers at this level will engage also in relevant online professional development courses offered by the Ministry of Education or other approved providers. I'd like to stress at this point that while continued learning is the goal, that expectations and requirements should not create any undue burden on students or their families. If, as a parent, you have concerns, kindly share them with your child's teacher or report them to the school's principal. If concerns are not resolved or if for some reason the principal cannot be reached, parents or students, can call the National Ministry of Education hotline telephone numbers, which are 615-7579 or 615-7402 for assistance. As we inch our way further and further along the calendar year and toward this final phase of our school's calendar year, another pressing question at this time is, what is the plan for promotion and graduation of students? For preschool students, the ministry's recommendation is as such. Those first-year preschool students, that is those children who are 3 years old, should be promoted to the 4-year-old year. And those students who are 4 years old, we are recommending should receive their preschool certificates and transition into primary school. For primary school students, and in accordance with Education Rule 128.2, all students from Infant 1 to Standard 5 are expected to be promoted, and schools are asked to provide special assistance for those students who require such during the upcoming school year. All Standard 6 students who have met their school's standards for primary certification and those who have reached 14 years of age are expected to graduate from primary school in accordance with Education Rule 128.3. Now, these particular rules always cause concern, and I want to say for the record that the Ministry of Education believes in promoting the students, yes, but not just so. In fact, you will note that I stress the point that special assistance ought to be provided for students who the teachers believe or the school believes need such assistance in order to be brought up to par as to where they are. As it relates to secondary school students, our schools are encouraged to provide all first to third form students with sufficient opportunities to advance to the next level of education and to provide, where it is necessary, remedial support on the reopening of school. In other words, we promote these students from first to second form if they're in first form, second to third form if they're in second form, third to fourth form if they're in third form. And once they get into that new class, the remedial work of bringing them up to speed ought to be done post haste in order to ensure that they can cope with the what is being taught at the new level which they have been promoted to. School boards are asked to adjust graduation requirements such as community service and also graduation requirements. Schools are advised to seek counsel from the Ministry of Education if there are concerns on these particular matters. Where possible, IT vet trainees will continue to be engaged by their instructors in support courses, theoretical aspects of training, and home-based projects during the period of school closure. However, trainees will not be certified until conditions allow for completion of practical and on-the-job training requirements. Previously scheduled national and regional exams are also points of concern, and to this issue I now point the way forward. The Belize Junior Achievement Test, the BJAT, will not be administered this academic year, but instead this exam will be used as a diagnostic tool for schools to use by administering it at the start of Primary Standard 4. The primary school exam, the PSE, will not be administered this academic year. The already printed examination scripts instead will be given to high schools and will be required for use in assessing the competence of their first form students so that targeted academic support can be provided to those who need it. At the secondary and tertiary levels, Belize cannot participate in the 2020 sitting of Caribbean Examination Council CXC Cape exams, or CSEC and Cape exams, as presently scheduled. Our ministry continues to be in dialogue with the stakeholders of the CXC and hopes still to find a way forward that works for our country of Belize. Grants and scholarships that are dependent on the outcome of such exams are being looked at this time, and the mechanism is being explored for the award to those students who had registered for the required number of exams. The details of this will be provided shortly. So just to highlight again, there will be no BJAT exam, there will be no PSE exam. Instead, these exams will be used at the start of the next year of the child's studies, the children's studies, so that they may be brought up to speed, or at least the school can assess where they are and then put in intervention measures to bring them up to speed. CSEC and CAPE exams, high school and sixth form exams, the regional exams that we take, are not going to continue as per scheduled, and we continue to work with CXC, the Caribbean Examination Council, to find a way forward. Belizeans will know that as a result of passing 6 of these CSEC exams, students previously qualified for tuition scholarships to junior college and the University of Belize and Galen, I suppose. But now we're saying that that is going to be tough to do because we won't have these CSEC exam results. And so we're saying we're reviewing this just to ensure that there is something coming in terms of supporting such awards. And those details, as I've said, will be provided shortly. As we move to finish the school year, registration for the new school year also becomes an issue. And to this end, the Ministry of Education is requesting that all educational institutions extend their deadlines for registration and payment of school fees until circumstances improve. The ministry also intends to continue to support students in need of assistance to attend high school. The high school subsidy program, therefore, will continue, although our plan to expand the subsidy program this year to include all high school students attending government high schools from first form to fourth form will need to be revisited based on the economic feasibility. As all knows, the government is on a serious financial crunch. Lastly from me are some teacher-related matters. Teachers who have been approved for long leave by the Teaching Service Commission are considered to have commenced long leave on April 1 of 2020, so there is no deferral of long leaves. And approved replacement teachers will receive their salaries as long as managing authorities submit written confirmation that they have indeed engaged such teachers. And since our offices are closed, teachers wishing to renew their licenses are asked to email electronic copies of their application forms to the various district education offices. The information, contact information for them, of course, will be provided. I'm sure we can get that up on the screen at some point. These matters that I've raised are not at all exhaustive, but it is what we feel is relevant and pertinent and most sought after at this time. And so I want to close my remarks by encouraging all to remember the mantra of the Ministry of Education, that education is everybody's business. And even in this very difficult time, especially in this very difficult time, where education cannot be handled so much by the teachers and the schools because of the state of emergency that requires us to stay home, it is now more than ever the duty and the responsibility of all Belizeans, no matter what your role is in the society, to participate, to partake in helping to educate our citizenry. And so I urge you to do your part, whether you are a business person, whether you are in the government service, whether you are in the church service, whether you are a parent, whether you are a part of the school administration, whether you're a teacher, whatever your role is, especially, of course, if you're a student, do your part to help us during this very difficult time to keep one of the vital pillars of our society going, to help us to keep education going. Thank you and God's blessings.